We did it. We're back. Welcome, everybody, to the Your Town podcast. What's up, Meg?
Hey.
How's it going?
It's going pretty good.
We had a little diner breakfast date this morning, didn't we? Huh?
Oh, yeah.
It's our first Saturday morning not in a gym, so that's pretty cool.
Later, though.
Yeah, we're going to be there later. It's our first morning, I guess, in there. And shout out Lisbon Diner. It was a delicious meal. Great staff, great food. A lot of food. Holy cow. Had a breakfast burrito. Woo! We've had some pizza there, which kind of leads into this episode. It's a little bit about pizza, a lot about murder. And if you watched last week's episode, you knew that Meg said, hey, let's do the pizza one. And we did. We followed up. If you guys are into serial killers and stuff like that, hopefully not like you're into serial killers, you know what I mean? Maybe that was said a little bit wrong. But if you are into learning about serial killers, we did Ed Kemper last week, which was also Meg's pick. So this one's an interesting one. I don't know if you've ever heard of it.
I have not.
You have not? No.
No.
Well, so kind of just to start things off a little bit, there was a young man who was on a little bit of a routine pizza delivery and had some terrible things happen to him. So let's do the intro and then we'll get into it. What do you think?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Let's do it.
Let's see if it actually works this time. Let's try it when?
No.
As mentioned, there was a young man on a routine pizza delivery. A quiet night in a Montana town, which, hey, new state. We're down to like 5
Ooh.
or 6. I can't count. And it was a seemingly ordinary trip, but it would end in a horrifying crime. It was April 5th, 1985. 1985, Meg. People that were born in 85 are 40 this year. Isn't that crazy?
Lucky.
Yucky. Morris Davis Jr. stepped out of his car to deliver to a vacant house. Moments later, he was ambushed and shot not once, not twice, not 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, or 8 times, 9 times by an unknown assailant. Decades later, the case remains unsolved. Who wanted Morris dead and why? So today, tonight, this afternoon, or the morning, we're going to explore one of Montana's most chilling mysteries and the questions that still haunt not only the family, but the community. It's crazy, right? Can you imagine? You're just so young, so ready for the world, delivering pizzas until you're not delivering any more. So, I don't know. Let's take a little bit of a closer look at the events that kind of led up to Morris Davis Jr.'s tragic death. He was 23 years old. He was a delivery driver working for Howard's Pizza Shop. Shout out Howard's Pizza Shop in Great Falls, Montana. Those are some interesting names for, I mean, do you think Howard was the OG owner? Or do you think Howard's Pizza Shop was maybe like generationally passed on? Like where we live, there's Doug's Tavern. There hasn't been a guy named Doug that owned that tavern, if ever. So do you think it was kind of the same thing? Or do you think Howard was still working at the pizza shop when Morris was?
I feel like Howard was still there.
Think so? What do you think Howard looks like? Old, Italian style, or just the small town Montana guy that loved pizza?
I'm going small town Montana guy.
I'm going to go the opposite.
Well, when did pizza joints like get popular?
What do you think?
I would
In
say,
America or in the world?
like in America, I guess.
What's
I
your
would
guess?
say like 70s.
Oh, it was the earliest 20th century. The first licensed pizza shop was actually Lombardi's, kind of like the Lombardi Trophy in football, in 1905 in New York City. The pizza slice was actually invented, making pizza more accessible to busy workers. And after World War II, American soldiers returned home from Italy with a desire for pizza. So Italian Americans moved west and introduced pizza to a wider nation. Pizza became more popular in America than it did in Italy because of it.
Huh.
Yeah. Pretty wild, huh?
Okay, so way earlier than I assumed.
Yeah.
So maybe it's not Howard.
We're going to say, you know what? This is what my brain tells me now. Howard was the inspiration behind the name. Howard was a grandfather of the person, or I'm going to go father of the person that opened the pizza shop in Great Falls, Montana.
Okay.
Now, do you think there was actually Great Falls in Montana? If you guys are into weird story names or street names, you guys should check out Street Science Storytime. New episode every Sunday in the Beard Law Studio. Hey! All right, but for real, if you guys are near Howard's Pizza Shop, know anything about Howard's Pizza Shop, please let us know in the comments or shoot an email at matt@beardlaws.com because I want to know more about Howard's Pizza Shop. And if you're still here, you probably want to know more about this true crime case. So we're Howard's Pizza Shop, 23-year-old, Great Falls, Montana. And by all accounts, he was a hardworking and a well-liked young man with no known enemies. But on the evening of Good Friday, wasn't a good one here, April 5th, 1985, at approximately 11 p.m., paramedics Ed Day and Cliff Davis received a call about a shooting at 1015 6th Avenue NW in Great Falls, Montana. As they headed to the scene, dispatchers updated them that the victim had been shot multiple times, not just once, as initially believed. Upon the arrival, the officers informed them that the victim was in critical condition and they weren't sure if he was still even breathing. How do you not know? You're a paramedic, right? I know it's the 80s, but you still should know if a patient's potentially breathing. But I don't know this. I'm not a paramedic, and I do love our paramedics and first responders.
Yes.
It's a tough situation regardless. I'm just curious how, because that was a note that was in several different things. Sure. I was just like, they're not sure if he was even still alive, if he was still breathing. But I guess I would have to imagine with that much blood loss, the pulse, the circulation, stuff like that is a little bit harder. But either way, they're not sure at this point, unfortunately. Spoiler alert, he doesn't make it. When Cliff entered the house, he was shocked to discover that the victim was his own brother, Morris. Cliff immediately recognized Morris by his cowboy boots and was overcome with grief. He's in a state of shock. He screamed before collecting himself enough to help move Morris onto a stretcher. As they loaded him into the ambulance, Cliff noticed his brother's hand slipping off the stretcher, a stark reminder that Morris wasn't going to make it. As they drove to the hospital, Cliff watched helplessly through the crawl space as paramedics performed CPR, praying for his brother's survival. Tragically, Morris was declared dead on arrival, DOA. He had been shot more than 8 times, 9 times, as we already did mention. Police speculated that the motive was robbery, with the killer taking less than $300. Cliff couldn't fathom why anyone would want to kill or even harm Morris, who was well-liked and full of life. Just 23. He had worked, this was just his part-time gig, as the delivery for good old Howard's Pizza, and he had no idea that this was going to be his last delivery, and that would actually lead to his death. They say pizza kills. In this case, it really did. But the killer's plan seemed carefully orchestrated. The pizza had been ordered right from a location other than the house. They speculated that it was a payphone. So at about 9:15 p.m., Morris geared up for that, what would be final delivery. Witnesses actually reported seeing him on the porch at 9:20 p.m., where he was shot on entry. That's interesting, right? He fled, but the shooter actually chased him down, shooting him again before dragging him back inside and then shooting several more times. Probably should have kicked off the episode with viewer and listener discretion advised. There are some adult-style moments in here. It's not overly graphic, but as that came out of my mouth, I realized that is pretty graphic, so I do apologize for that. Let me rewind it real quick. Viewer and listener discretion is advised. So unfortunately, witnesses, this was always confusing to me in the research. There was witnesses, but they couldn't identify shooters. They couldn't identify anything, but they did see him on the porch. And then at some point he gets shot when he gets into the house, runs, they chase him, shoot him more, drag him back in, shoot him some more. And it was a vacant house. So it'd be like you going to just a house that is nobody. And what are the people that are doing now? They're squatters. And they just taken in the house, whether it's a party house. I have to, my brain says it's a vacant house. There's not good things going on with whatever is happening, maybe partaking in adult things. And
so it makes me wonder who else worked at Howard's. Maybe they were thinking someone else would deliver.
And old Morris showed up. I have to imagine. Well, let's do this real quick.
I don't know. He seemed like everyone seems to think he was a good guy.
Yeah, part-time job. Let's see. So Great Falls, obviously in Montana. It's 37 degrees here at the time of the recording. That would be nice. It's population 60,422. So it's not a super small place, but it's not a huge place. So I mean, I was
Bustling town.
Yeah, I was picturing, if it was a place like where we live and there's a pizza shop, everybody's going to know everybody.
Right.
You know what I mean? And but like I said, he's got no enemies.
Yeah, so maybe it was just the wrong guy.
But then again, he's got a brother, Cliff. Maybe it was like a revenge thing on Cliff. Took it out on him. But either way, shot several times. We didn't know that. And what was interesting is there was only one thing taken from Morris, and it was the delivery wallet. His personal wallet and coin changer were left behind. They wanted that pizza money. After Morris failed to return to the pizza parlor, another driver was then sent to check on him, discovering that the body was inside the front sliding glass door. Despite the robbery motive, investigators had no suspects and, more importantly, no murder weapon. The case went unsolved for 3 years until a surprising lead emerged on May 11, 1988. In a town 180 miles away, police arrested a man driving a stolen car who was found to have 2 receipts from a Great Falls pawn shop, one for a .22 caliber pistol that had been also reported stolen.
Dun, dun, dun.
There it is, the Dun Dun Queen strikes again. Ballistic tests confirmed that the gun was the same type that was used in Morris's murder, but it wasn't long before the man was cleared of any involvement. Yeah, I built you up and then I brought you back down, Buttercup. 20. So we know a .22 caliber, similar to that, was there. And this person, he claimed it was a coincidence that the gun was pawned in Great Falls 3 years later. Coincidence? I think not. Further investigation led detectives to the gun's owner, a man named Rick, who had an alibi and no explanation for how the gun left his home in Oregon and ended up in Montana. Despite extensive interviews and even the old lovely polygraph tests, isn't it crazy how that was a thing? Even when we were watching, some true crime, some 2020, doesn't matter what we're watching, polygraph, how it was so relevant back in the day. And it could, even in the John Benet Ramsey case, polygraph test, and nowadays, looking back, obviously technology has evolved quite a bit. They're like, polygraphs do not hold up in court. They don't even use them, I don't think, anymore, right?
I don't know.
But, that's just crazy how you could pass one, and most sociopaths could pass one pretty easily. But if you passed it, pass the polygraph, the guy's innocent.
Right.
That's wild. But, again, pass the polygraph, no evidence or anything that was linking old Rick to the murder. But this unexpected discovery raised even more questions. Could it be just an odd coincidence that the gun used to kill Morris ended up in a pawn shop near the crime scene just 3 years later? Who had taken the gun from Rick's home, used it in Montana to kill Morris, and then returned it without anyone knowing? That seems a little bit too much, right?
Suspicious.
But Cliff remains convinced that Rick knows more than he's letting on. He struggled to understand how Rick could be unaware of the gun's connection to the murder. With no answers, Cliff holds on to hope that the truth will eventually come to light. There was a $7,000 reward for any information that could lead to the arrest and conviction of the person responsible. But despite the robbery motive being clear, there were rumors about alternative motives, including a lover's quarrel, maybe even illegal drugs. But again, no evidence supported either of those theories, just some rumors. Fleetwood Mac knows about rumors. But then there's some people that even suggested that another delivery man might have been the target, like Meg might have said. He was killed in mistake. Then in 1995,
I'm going with that theory still.
Still going with it?
I am.
It's a strong theory, yeah.
I don't think it was meant for him.
And then, like you said, I wonder who else were some of these other pizza delivery guys that might have been in there. And kind of leads me to mine. These people are in a vacant house, setting some things up. They put the thought behind it. My thought, vacant house. Maybe there is some illegal drug stuff going on in there. Maybe this other delivery person. back when I was growing up, potentially even near pizza shops and stuff like that, there were some pizza delivery guys that were doing some side hustling with potential things. Like, it's, you never know. Morris wasn't the guy.
I don't think it was meant for him.
I don't think so. Let's fast forward a little bit, Meg, to 1995. There's new ballistics. And the way that they're able to do it, it's always evolving. 10 years later, revealed that the pawn gun wasn't the murder weapon, sending the investigation back to square one.
What a bummer.
10 years later, we're going to decades here. 2005, former detective John Cameron, can't trust a man with two first names, identified a potential new suspect, old Donald Dubray. Dubray, convicted of a 1986 murder in Great Falls, had a criminal history that included some nasty things that you do to people that begins with R and several felonies. There was even FBI profilers linked the cases of Morris and Suzette Pritchard, believing the same person may have been responsible. So the FBI is now involved.
I wonder what happened to Suzette.
Suzette? I'm assuming...
Similar.
Let's, without getting into it, maybe it's a future episode. If anybody wants to maybe see said episode, please let us know. But I'm assuming it is the murder. Let's see. Sister of slain teen forgave killer before death in prison. So obviously he was a convicted filler. Suzanne Pritchard was killed in 1986.
So similar time.
A year later, yep. Was stabbed 24 times by old Donald Dubray while working an overnight shift as a convenience store clerk. That's too bad. All right, well, if anybody wants to do that, and again, it was in Great Falls. Guess how much money he took from the store?
$200.
$300.
That was close.
Right around the same amount of money that was taken from Morris and the pizza delivery. Interesting, huh?
Okay.
All right. Are we on to something?
I think so. Let's crack it.
Then there was phone calls from prison revealed that Dubray may have been trying to set up an alibi for the murder, with some suggesting he was talking about Morris's killing. Further investigation showed that Dubray had committed a robbery and shot a man with what, Meg?
The pistol.
A .22 caliber pistol, the same type of gun that was used in Morris's murder. There were also traffic tickets placing him in Great Falls around the time of the shooting. Cliff, determined, just like any family member would be, reached out to Dubray multiple times, and he actually offered specific details about the crime scene, including where the shots were fired and where Morris's body was found. Dubray even admitted to being at the house at the time of the murder, though he said, "I wasn't the shooter."
So the brother's reaching out. He's taking it into his own hands.
I mean,
not waiting for...
I mean, the FBI is involved in this and that, but Cliff, working in the field that he does, I'm sure has the ability to reach out. But I mean, at the same point, family members and stuff like that can reach out.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a state prison. You can try to call and talk to anybody, and it's recorded. But with all that being said, Dubray died in prison in 2016 while serving a life sentence. And despite efforts to get him to confess to anything, technically the case still remains open, and the true identity of Morris's killer is still unknown.
So he had a sidekick.
Sidekick or sidekicks? Oh, that was like a snake. It just hissed at me. But there's always the legacy and the shock and just the devastation left in the community and the family. And Morris Davis Jr. left a permanent scar on the family and the community. The parents, they were very vocal in their pursuit of justice, pleading for anyone with information to come forward. Despite their efforts, they passed away without seeing their son's case solved. It's terrible, right?
That's sad.
Local journalists, true crime enthusiasts have kept Morris's story alive, hoping fresh eyes might uncover new details. The case is listed on various unsolved crime databases, a stark reminder of the challenges faced by law enforcement in cases with very limited evidence. And this story here also highlights broader issues in cold case investigations, including the need for more modern forensic techniques and the importance of public involvement. And definitely like securing the crime scene, you know? And I mean, just a little bit of a small detail from something in Great Falls could still, or could have, I'd like to say still because I want to have hope, solve the case. Man, terrible, terrible thing. And this story here of Morris Davis Jr., just a tragic reminder of how quickly life can change and how important it is to seek justice for victims. If you have any information about this case, no matter how small, please consider coming forward. You could actually be the key to solving this mystery and bringing peace to a family that has waited far too long. So thank you, every single one of you, for joining us as we delve deep into the pizza delivery, haunting, disgusting murder case. So if you're as captivated by these stories like us, don't forget to subscribe, share, like, send this over to your mom, your grandma, your aunt, your uncle, your cousin, anybody. We'd greatly appreciate it. Let's keep stories like this alive, and hopefully someday they're able to solve it.
I hope so.
What do you think? Still sticking with your theory?
I'm sticking with my theory.
So you're saying wrong guy, DeBray did it? Or just wrong guy, not sure who did it?
I think wrong guy, DeBray, was involved. I think he orchestrated.
Okay.
I think he's behind it all. But I feel like he had, let's call them minions.
All right. So now I'm going with...
That were probably drug-related.
I'm going to go with wrong guy, showed up, or maybe just random. Like, they didn't really care. They were just like, yeah, we're going to do this. And it was maybe going to be like a trial run. I don't think that they thought... I think there's multiple people. I don't think they thought they were going to be ever caught or convicted because they're out in the woods. I don't think they were planning on all that. And they murder him. Might have lived. And then that just kind of was the trial run. And then DeBray just couldn't live it down and went on to murder again, and thankfully he got caught for that one at least. But yeah, I don't think DeBray was the one, but he was definitely there. Makes you wonder.
Ringleader.
And hopefully whoever did it has to live in guilt for the rest of their lives. Shout out to our sources: Wikipedia, Unsolved Mysteries Fandom, and Cat Country 1029. They all had a little bit of some pieces of the puzzle, and we have ourselves a little bit of a quote that Meg would love to read.
There's no better feeling in the world than a warm pizza box on your lap. Kevin James.
Thought that was fitting. Now I want pizza.
I was just going to say the same thing.
All right, maybe we roll through after basketball and we grab ourselves a pizza. Think about it.
Maybe.
Oh, you already got something else on your brain. Is it a 3-letter place?
Maybe.
Do they have secret herbs and spices?
They do.
From the Colonel?
Mm-hmm.
Cousin to Deion Sanders?
Sure.
Yeah. All right, everybody. If anybody has a promo code for KFC, please let us know, because apparently I'm stopping there after basketball, even though we really want pizza. By we, I mean me. But either way, we can't thank you enough for listening to the Your Town podcast. We'll be back next week with another either true crime, spooky, I don't really know. Maybe it'll be a state we already did. Maybe it'll be a new one. Maybe we'll do something LA related with everything going on in the world. So, all right. Well, hopefully 2025 starts to get a little bit better. Can't thank you enough for taking some time out of your day, your week, your afternoon, your morning, or your night listening to us. But that's all we got. We'll be back next week. Take care, everybody.
Bye.
Goodbye.